What's up, guys? Welcome back. Look, I'm sorry that it took a couple of weeks for me to come with this next video, but I do want to stop for just a moment and reiterate a couple of things, because what I need you to understand is that since starting this YouTube channel, not even 60 days ago, I want to say, it's not been that long, I am just now coming back off of my second social media ban. Now, and I want to point out that those of you who know me personally or follow me on Facebook, you know that you're never going to see anything, you're going to see some perhaps controversial things. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. And you'll see something, maybe conspiratorial, for sure. Okay. But what you're not going to see is anything vulgar, abusive, violent, or anything that's not appropriate for children. I mean, my mother is my Facebook friend at the same time. My mother is following my Facebook. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on. My Facebook is not even like that. Okay, but understand, this is not my second. Because of the nature of biblical cosmology, because of the nature of truth itself, there are certain things that I cannot tell you plainly. I can't tell you plainly. And that's okay, because this is going to be good for both of us, because I want you to understand that I'm learning here at the same time, because Scripture teaches that we need to walk circumspectly in this world, okay? And that's what this is about, because what I need you to understand is that even those of you who know me personally, although I utilize social media to run my business, I do not rely on social media to run my business. I rely on the Most High. I rely on my Father, first and foremost. And social media is a tool that I utilize. But understand that I rely on Him first and foremost. So, like I said, there's certain things I can't tell you plainly, but what I can do is help you learn how to observe and interpret. Okay? This is what this is about. This is about you learning how to do this on your own. Because as you can see, no one is going to tell you. And no one is going to show you. And no one is willing to teach you. They would rather hide it. They would rather hide all of it. So understand, because of the nature of truth itself, and because you love the truth, because I'm just like you, I'm tired of being lied to. I want to expose the liars, and I want to believe in what's real. And for doing so, you are, and am I, the most hated. So let that sink in. We're going to learn how to observe and interpret, though, and we're going to start with the seasons. All right, so getting right into it, Genesis chapter 1, we find that the sun, moon, and stars were made again on day 4 for the purpose of marking signs, times, and the Moedim. Today we're going to look at times and the application here. So moving right into the sun, obviously the sun's light is hot, the moon's light is cold. This is easily proven. Any one of you can do this with a $35 laser thermometer at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can go out into the country. And I say the country because don't do this in the city, because in the city there's too many things to contaminate the data. Okay, because what you want to do is you're going to be measuring the temperature difference between the shade and the direct moonlight. Okay, and what you're going to find is that in the direct moonlight, it's colder than it is in the shade. You'll find that in the shade of the moonlight, it is hotter, warmer. Now, farmers and various agriculturalists have known this, have actually not lost this knowledge. There are groups of people who have never lost this knowledge, but it has been widely lost on modern society, and you can easily prove it for $35 if you so choose. All right, so we understand through Scripture that the sun is giving off its own light, and the moon is giving off its own light as well. Okay, one is not reflecting off of the other. They are independent. We have a greater light to rule the day and a lesser to rule the night. And what we find through discovery is that these lights are different and opposite of one another. if you've ever been through tactical training, or if you've ever, I know some of you guys may perhaps snipers, or anybody who's ever been in the field, you know, and has learned maneuvers, one of the things that they teach you is that to increase your night vision, you stare into the moonlight. By staring into the moonlight, you will actually increase your night vision. Now, this is in direct opposition to the sunlight, of course, because if you were to stare into the sunlight, yeah, you're not going to increase any kind of vision. You're going to dramatically decrease it, because the sunlight, although we receive certain vitamins and whatnot that are needed through the sunlight into our eyes, look into that as well. But the sunlight is by and large going to diminish your vision, whereas the moonlight will actually help to increase your night vision. So we're going to talk about times, like I said. So look, the sun, as far as time goes, right? The sun goes overhead once a day, right? It makes a revolution once every day. It makes its circuit once every day. All right, and this is why things as simple as a sundial work. Anywhere on the world, anywhere on the earth, a sundial will tell time. All right, the sundial tells you the hour of day, and the ZI. You have to be able to zoom in and zoom out. So when you zoom in on the sundial, you find that it tells you the hour of the day. When you zoom out, the sun tells you the hour of the year, which we're going to get into shortly. But first, understanding that the sun tells you the hour of the day. Simple. A child can do this. All right. The moon tells you the day of the month, right? Because we have a lunar cycle, right? That takes approximately 28 days to complete. All right. And what Scripture teaches us is that the first sighting of the moon, when you first see that, when it's dark and it's completely dark, but you see that first sliver appear, that is the beginning of the month. Very, very simple. What happens is around about 2 weeks later, you will have a full moon. The full moon marks the midpoint, the second week, the end of the second week of the month. The full moon marks the middle of the month. And then when the moon goes completely dark, it is still that same month until the next sliver appears. And once the next sliver appears, the new month begins. And this becomes critical when calculating the Moedim, because our next, in fact, upcoming appointed time is Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets. Okay, and that's going to be coming up in a few months, and we're gonna look at that one because it's a very, very interesting and very mysterious feast, actually, and the reason being is that it's the only feast that falls on the first day of the month. All the other feasts are in the middle of the month, you know, the 14th, the 17th, you know, something like that. But Yom Teruah actually falls on the first day of the month. Now, of the seventh month. Now, being that the first day of the month is determined by the spotting of the new moon, Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, has long, for thousands of years, been known as the feast of which no man knows the day nor the hour. Because what happens is that every year, it ends up being about a 3-day window that the moon may or may not be sighted. You know, we might see it up tonight, or we might not see it till tomorrow night, or we might not see it till the night after. So it's an unknown type of thing. And so what happens is it creates a scenario where, as people of God, if you're trying to observe the Moedim, okay, you literally have to watch, because you don't know when the day or the hour will be. So it's a very interesting idiom that we actually find our Messiah uses in the New Testament. And we'll get into that later on as we get closer to the Feast of Trumpets. All right, but now let's go back to the sun real quick, and I want to talk about the zoom out to the hour of the year, okay, and how this tells the hour of the year. All right, so we're going to look at the equinox. The equinox obviously is the period of the year which happens twice a year. We have the spring equinox and we have the autumn equinox, right? And these are the days when there is an equal amount of daylight as there is night light. Day and night are equal on the equinox, right? And what's actually happening is this. We're going to be looking down at our Earth from the watcher view, as if we were one of the watcher angels. We're looking down on the Earth, and the North Pole's right here. Okay, so what happens is right about here is the equator. Okay, halfway from the North Pole to Antarctica is the equator. Okay, so keep that in mind. Erase this real quick. When the sun finds itself directly over the equator, all right, and bear in mind the sun is giving off its light in 360 degrees in all directions, but the sun is local to the Earth. The sun is very close. The math works out to about 3,400 miles away. Okay, so at 3,400 miles away, the sun is not able to light up the entire Earth. No, it's only able to light up about half of the Earth at any given time. Okay, so if we could just kind of get an idea of how far its light was being cast right here, you know, its light is probably only going to be going about like so. That's about all the light that it's going to be able to give on the Earth at that given time, right? But bear in mind, it's rotating in a circle like so, and so is the moon, right? They're both moving in these circles over and against the Earth is what Scripture tells us. Okay, so the moon is giving off its light at the same time, right? And they're spinning around. Okay. The moon, we're going to look at its light now. The moon is giving off its light about like so. And now you understand where this symbol came from. Now you understand how many of these things have been hidden in plain sight. This right here represents the equinox. And anyone who has studied any of your mystery religions, if you've studied paganism, if you know anything, you understand why this would be so important to these people. All right? Because it does become crucial in calculating the times and the Moedim, of which both us and the enemy are well aware. All right? Now look, guys, that's a quick one. I just wanted to remind you real quick a couple of things, and this is just actually a reference point for you. As you can see, I drew my little horrible grandfather clock here. Reference this on any grandfather clock that you've ever seen. Reference this on anything that you want to. I encourage you to do your own research. All right, but what you're going to find is that none of this is even in debate. None of this is controversial. You will find that all of this is quite clear when you look for truth first and then evidence. Just saying.